we are trying to come to that clarity, come to that level of understanding in a world where you're never going to find it in this world, because like the scripture says, it's the peace that surpasses understanding.
Welcome to the Golden Age Goddess Podcast. We stand for peace, love, happiness, and abundance for all. Listen to your heart and soul's call, and we will encourage you to be bold, audacious, and devoted. Kim, Indigo, and Wind, helping you win by healing deep within. Only way to the Golden Age. Like, share, and subscribe today.
I will begin our beautiful, beautiful ceremony today. Goddesses, in your own perspectives, what is shadow work?
Oh, yes. I'll go last if you don't mind.
My shadow work first.
My shadow work, I feel like, is to be quiet and just like sit back and then for a little bit and just let my other goddesses. I get excited, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I want to hear what my goddesses have to say. Kim, how about you?
Of course, I'll go first. What I've been able to experience in my journey with shadow work is what we're here to do, what we're here to unravel, what we're here to learn, what we're here to unlearn, which is so important. Because growing up in society, we're molded to think a certain way, to be a certain way. I mean, not even society, like ancestral trauma, things that we just go through in life that pull us away from what we are, and that is love. Anything that is not from love has to go. And for me, that's the shadow work. It's like, I know I am love deep in my heart, and so many things are programmed into our minds since we're little. And growing up, for me, the shadow work has been going deep within to my heart and knowing that anything that does not feel that it's from love or not from my heart, then it has to go. And that can be anything from a breakup. It can be anything from ancestral trauma. It can be the way that people have betrayed you, the way that you have grown up, and there's been false comments or things aimed towards you. All of that is doing the shadow work, because when we start to believe all that, it starts to go on. It's kind of like layers. It starts to, like, this is you, and then there's layers of like falsity that goes on top of you. And for me, it has been beautiful to be able to unmantle all of those layers and come back to myself, which is love. So to me, the shadow work is so necessary because we continue to evolve in life, and it has just been crucial for my work here on the planet, and what I'm here to do to share my love to humanity. And I think it's just so beautiful to be able to do the shadow work. And that's what it means to me, is unveiling all of that has been put onto us by society and others, so other thoughts and things like that. So that's what shadow work means to me.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Goddess.
That is beautiful. So shadow work for me, when I think of the word shadow, I think about the hidden parts of us, because the shadow is always there with us. It's just reflective on the way that the light hits us, right? And where we're able to see those shadows, but they're always there. The shadow is always with us, right? And the purpose of the shadow work, because when we come into our being, we come like, they call us gods with amnesia. We come into the world in our purest form, our purest essence. Babies are so innocent. They have just like divine love, just looking at them brings you joy. It makes your heart just like filled with love. Just looking at a baby, just like seeing a baby, don't have to be your baby. Babies bring that energy, brings that frequency to the planet. And as babies grow and evolve, they begin to imitate, they begin to mock the behaviors of their parents, of the people that they're around. That's when the shadow is then like starting to build and intertwine with us, because it's like we are trying to figure out, because we have amnesia, what is it that we're here for, right? Because we forgot, we came forgetting. And we are trying to come to that clarity, come to that level of understanding in a world where you were never going to find it in this world. Because like the scripture says, it's the peace that surpasses understanding. So you can't find understanding in this world of our spiritual, our full spiritual essence that we bring into this reality, into this frequency, this third dimension of density. And as we grow, we then may experience certain things in life that may then cause us to sometimes harden or create certain boundaries for ourselves. And sometimes that can be limiting. So those shadows then start to, in our ego, then we start to build it, and it becomes like a protective mechanism to basically protect us from feeling a certain feeling that we felt before. Or, if we felt like abandonment from very early on, we build this like protective mechanism, which is our shadow, that then would be like, I don't want to let people in close to me because I'm afraid that they may leave me, or I'm afraid of the abandonment, or I'm afraid that, you know what I'm saying, of being vulnerable with someone, because if I let them too close, they may hurt me. They may, break my heart, or they may cause me to feel let me down in some way. So as we grow, the shadow becomes more dominant. It becomes like, okay, I'm here to protect you. I'm here to make sure you don't feel that hurt and pain no more. I'm here to make sure that nobody is going to get over on you, and different things that we create for ourselves. We create that shadow. And as we grow older, as we integrate with it, it becomes dominant in our lives. It becomes our reality, right? It becomes our truth, which is not really the truth. It's not the real truth, because it's only a shadow. It's only a protective personality that we've integrated to then associate with ourselves, but it's not really truly who we are, because who we truly are is love, and we came in as that. Mm-hmm. But we build this protective mechanism along the way, which we call our ego, and we have several versions of the ego, and that is the shadow. So we go in to clear that up from lifetimes upon lifetimes to allow our soul to evolve, right? We allow our soul to go through the journey of evolution, and that's what we're here to do. And we forget, but we come back to remembering. That's the whole purpose of like constantly having these things happen to us, to come back to remember the truth of who we are, which is love, and to remove those limiting beliefs, remove those blockages, remove those generational traumas, like Kim said, or generational curses, like some will call that, or programming that we associate with to be who we are, which is not really who we are.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Thank you so much. Love that. I want to start off by saying, because it's really important that we also know where these terms come from, shadow work. Even before it was coined shadow work, which was coined by a psychologist named Carl Jung in the 1900s, he defined and coined shadow work as a term to look at our unconscious mind. The unconscious controls the traumas. It controls the pain. It controls those deep wounded sufferings, and looking into those traumas. But it goes so much beyond that. even before it was coined shadow work in the 1900s, in ancient cultures, they were doing that deep, deep soul work, that deep inner work, connecting with higher dimensional beings of love and light, in order to be able to look into self, look into the DNA, look into the soul, and even our ancestral lineage to find out why we are going through what we're going through and how can we also prevent it for the future, our future generations to come. And so when we're looking at shadow work, and I love what Indigo said, like it's the hidden, it's the unseen. And again, going back to that esoteric, we really, really have to understand that that is what's going to liberate you, is to be able to look at those parts of self that are not self, that is actually controlling us behind the scene. What's coming to me is is like, how can I explain? What's the word? Like, not a metaphor, but if I was to compare it to like the Wizard of Oz, if you know anything about the Wizard of Oz, they, like Dorothy, just in a nutshell, she was going to go see the wizard in order for her to come home, right? And the wizard was seen as this all powerful, um, omnipotent, the most powerful, even more powerful than Dorothy was. So she felt like she needed to go to the wizard to get home, just to find out that the wizard was all smoke and mirrors. He really had no power. So I'm looking at the wizard almost as like our shadows, like we're living in our own shadow. We're living in our own shadow, and we're not realizing the power that we have to create our life, to have dominion over self, to control our thoughts, to control our actions, to control even our emotions and the energy that we're bringing to the table. When we're able to look at the shadows, which I'm using the wizard as an example, to me, he represents like the shadow. He's the illusion. He's the illusion of self. Like I have no dominion over self. I need to go to this in order for me to be able to be liberated, for me to have sovereignty over myself, for me to be able to be empowered. So when we're doing the shadow work, we're starting to realize like life is not happening to me. Life is responding to me. And I do have the ability to be able to love myself, to love life. And I'm not a victim of life. That is the shadow work as well. I'm not a victim of life. And I attract everything. I attract everything. I am a magnet, you know? Everything that we're experiencing, we co-create it through our thoughts, our actions, our emotional state, our karma, our karmic debt that we need to repay, and also our dharma. All of this is leading us to our dharma, even if we're going through a hard time. And I think that's a one big thing about shadow work, is to no longer be a victim of society, a victim of what we perceive as something that is keeping us from, living our best life, from being our best self, from being our higher self. And so when we're looking at those shadows, we're looking at not only the parts of self that are not self, that are the toxic anger, the jealousy, the insecurities, the whatever, everything that is from a fear vibration. We're not only looking at that, we're also looking at the light aspects of self. Where have we not spoken our truth when we were called to speak our truth? Where have we not allowed ourselves to be great? I know that's big for a lot of us, light workers, is that we have so many beautiful gifts. And a lot of times we hide them because we're scared of not being accepted, or we're scared of being persecuted, or we're scared of, whatever it is that keeps us playing small. So it shows up, the ego can show up in both ways. It can show up in keeping you playing small, or it can also show up in delusions of grandeur, where you feel like you're better than other people. All of these things are the shadows that we need to be aware of. It starts with that self-awareness and recognizing, am I happy? Am I so fulfilled? Where am I self-sabotaging? All of these different things. and no longer letting this illusory power, the wizard, so to speak, right? Who has no power. You have the power. You have the power take over you. So that is what shadow work means to me, even beyond Carl Jung coining the terminology of shadow work. This goes way back to indigenous cultures where they didn't call it shadow work. This was just doing the work. This was doing the light work. This was doing the spiritual work, us connecting to the divine, the spirit, so we can keep our vessels purified and we can be pure channels, as Indigo said, as we come in as babies, even though, yes, babies are pure, but they come in with certain ancestral coding as well, and DNA coding. And that's why their souls have chosen certain things. But still at that baby state, it's kind of like what you said, Indigo, and I'm gonna close it with this, that remembering as they're getting older, even though they're not conscious of the remembering, it's actually all of the people that they're around, the families that they're chosen, who are molding them into being, molding them into where the shadows are now taking over. All of that is a remembering so that they can clear that karmic debt, even though they may not be conscious of it. It's a remembering. It's coming back to like, okay, I have to go through this experience. This is what my soul chose. And then I can also rewrite the experience. That's the magic, and that's the mercy, and that's the love of the universe. So shadow work goes deep. I'm gonna leave it there. That is what shadow work means to me.
Yes.
Thank you.
Love that. Oh my gosh, that was so good.
Welcome to the Golden Age Goddess Podcast. We stand for peace, love, happiness, and abundance for all. Listen to your heart and soul's call, and we will encourage you to be bold, audacious, and devoted. Kim, Indigo, and Wind, helping you win by healing deep within. Only way to the Golden Age. Like, share, and subscribe today.